Christina Salonikis. On Wednesday, we told you about a nonprofit organization called A New Missouri that would financially back Governor Greitens. Today, KMUH's Felicia Lee looked into why having a nonprofit backing a politician could be out of line with what Missouri voters consider ethical.
When you visit Governor Eric Greitens' campaign website, one of the first things you see on the platform page is ethics reform at the Capitol. He says he wants to take big money out of the government, but some say he's not holding true to that promise.
In our first executive order,
that gives us that image.
I reached out to the governor's office and the organization, but neither responded to me. You can find even more on this issue at KOMU.com. From the newsroom, Felicia Lee, KOMU 8 News.
Immigration policy is one of the president's most prominent and most controversial platforms. The Pew Research Center says immigrant workers are projected to drive U.S. workforce growth for the next 2 decades. KOMU 8's Matt Vereen's here in the studio with how this could be a major benefit here in Columbia.
With more and more baby boomers retiring, immigrants and their children are projected to make up 34% of working-age adults by 2035. That is an 8% increase from the 2015 numbers. This could be huge for Columbia because many immigrants view the city as a great place for job opportunity. That's according to the City of Refuge, one of Columbia's many immigrant assistance programs that helps train them and connect them with local jobs. These programs are part of why Columbia gains 200 new immigrants every year. City of Refuge's director told me local employers are realizing just how helpful immigrant work can be.
We have more and more of them who are telling us things like, we would not be able to stay open if it wasn't for refugees. Bring us all the refugees that you can. Let us know when they apply so that we can pay attention to that.
Stoll also told me that given recent policy debates, he wants people to know how helpful immigrants can be both economically and culturally. In the studio, Matt Vereen, KOMU 8 News.
City council elections are right around the corner, and activists want to see efficient energy from candidates. KOMU 8's Daniel Litwin is in the studio with how new council members plan to go green.
Environmental advocacy groups hosted an open forum today to hear from Columbia City Council candidates. The topic, climate change and renewable energy for the city. All of the members agreed it's an issue the city needs to address. The city is on track to reach 30% renewable energy by 2029, but advocacy groups want Columbia to go completely renewable by 2035. Ward 1 candidates disagree on whether the city can reach this goal.
I think it's feasible, but I think one of the ways that we make it feasible is that we don't just keep living the way we're living, using the same levels of energy.
I don't think that's reasonable. We should really understand that growth is a huge thing, and I don't think it'd be reasonable to try to make that rapid of a shift.
Current Ward 1 member Clyde Ruffin says the city should focus on how climate change affects the most vulnerable members of the community. Elections for Wards 1 and 5 will be held in April. In the studio, Daniel Litwin, KOMU 8 News.
Right now, the KOMU 8 First Alert weather team is tracking the coming winter storm, so let's send it over to Michael to see what we can expect.
We'll take a look at that 8-day forecast coming up in just a little bit.
A teenager died today after a car crash earlier this week connected to a kidnapping of 3 children. 13-year-old Shiana Mays was in the car with 4 other people, 2 of them children, in Tuesday's crash on I-70. According to police, the 3 kids were taken from a home that day. Officers arrested 2 people in the crash, Demetrius Washington and this woman, Mackenzie Quiovers. She's currently in custody at the Boone County Jail, arrested on 3 counts of kidnapping. The Macon County prosecutor charged 2 men with assaulting a 3rd man in Marceline. Deputies arrested 19-year-old Reed Rosenbaum and 20-year-old Randall Fisher last month. Authorities say they kicked and punched the victim until he lost consciousness. The victim went to a hospital in Macon and then was transferred to a Columbia hospital. Doctors say he had a brain hemorrhage and a number of other injuries.
Car break-ins at Twin Lakes Dog Park have many questioning security or a lack thereof. There are no security cameras in the parking lot, and from the dog park, the lot is blocked by trees and landscape. Though a dog park Facebook page, or rather through it, many park goers hope to get the attention of Columbia Parks and Recreation. Carol Shaw goes to the dog park a lot and said she feels unsafe to park in the lot for a very long time.
We need to have security. We feel like we're being targeted, and we would like cameras in the parking lot. There's no way to have security here unless we have cameras.
Columbia Parks and Recreation says its staff is monitoring the situation and it's aware of the public's concern.
After the break, the new system president announced one way he's trying to cut costs.
And later in the show, what one manufacturer thinks about one of the president's promises.
In response to a state audit that criticized more than $2 million in mismanaged funds, the system president made a decision today to terminate an incentive program for top-level administrators. KOMU8's Ming Ma tells us what he had to say.
I want to welcome you to the University of Missouri system.
Ming Ma, KOMU8 News, Columbia.
Troy says he will host an official meeting to meet with faculty members on March 22nd. He also announced the board will not raise tuition by 15% to 17%, and it plans to try and keep tuition affordable.
Native Americans protesting the revival of a controversial pipeline, and people brought the same message to Columbia.
All right. Thanks, Michael.
You're welcome.
After the break, President Trump made a promise about manufacturing. We'll have the story of one company's reaction. But first, here's a look at your lottery numbers. Good luck. The new jobs report is out for the first full month of the Trump administration, and it's stronger than expected. 235,000 more jobs and unemployment down to 4.7%.
The White House touted the numbers, yet the president previously called job reports phony. NBC's Tom Costello tells us what one company thinks about president's promise to bring back manufacturing.
Force of the future.
NBC's Tom Costello reporting. Meanwhile, a week ago, after Democrats called for his resignation, Attorney General Jeff Sessions is asking others to step down. The Justice Department announced today that Sessions asked the remaining 46 U.S. attorneys appointed under the Obama administration to tender their resignations. And according to the Kansas City Star, one of them is Tammy Dickinson, attorney for the Western District of Missouri. The agency says the reason is, quote, to ensure a uniform transition. Half of the 93 U.S. attorney positions already left.
In reaction to President Trump's revival of the Dakota Access Pipeline, Native Americans are taking to his backyard to voice their concerns. The Native Nations Rise March kicked off 4 days of protests and demonstrations around Washington, D.C. It began at the Army Corps of Engineers and will continue to the White House. After a year-long battle, protesters demand President Trump stop construction of the pipeline, maintaining it threatens their water supply. People in Columbia took a local spin on the pipeline protests. The protectors of water and land spent an hour in front of City Hall showing solidarity with the Washington movement. Attendees say it was about standing with indigenous people everywhere and their right to their land. One person shared his experience of his indigenous people in his native country of Venezuela. Another member led the group in reciting a tribal speech.
Coming up in sports, Mizzou baseball woke up today with the longest winning streak in the nation. Did they hold on to that tonight? That's next.
Here's a look at what we're following for KOMU8 News today. We'll have updates on the incoming winter storm.
Plus, we'll tell you about a unique soccer event raising money for a children's charity. KOMU8 News today starts at 6.
Taking a look at that snow forecast for tomorrow, we are going to actually see snow start about now. Actually, we're beginning to see some snowfall across mid-Missouri, but that'll continue with most of the accumulations beginning right around 6 a.m., continuing into the late afternoon, but most of that wraps up right around then. The good news is we are going to see most of that snow just on grassy surfaces and in the trees. Travel tomorrow shouldn't be too big of an issue, but overall a cool week ahead.
Oh, it's going to be a cold one, guys.
Enjoy it if you like that.
Have a nice